Okay, here I am back with part number 2, the story of what happened with baby Violet. Okay, we were coming home one night late, I believe it was, yes, from church, and this was a month ago. I gotta think back. I just remember the accident. Okay, we came back home really late. Normally when we come home late like that, when it's dark or almost dark, I don't bother checking the goats because normally we would have checked them all before we had left for the evening. Well, anyways, we got home, we pulled up, it was almost dark, there was a little bit of light left, just barely, but enough to where if I wanted to go out back, I could check the animals. So we pulled up, I told my husband, I want to go check the baby goats. I don't know why, but I just feel like I need to go check the baby goats. And I got a little bit of light, so why not? I'm just going to run back there and check them. And I ran to the back and checked the baby goats. I went to the gate, and all the baby goats, like they always do, they come running and, crying and stuff, happy to see me or whatever, bang, not really crying. Um, and I see all the baby goats run to me, and I notice the first one is always Violet, the black one, and she wasn't there. So I was like, okay, where's baby Violet at? And I started looking around the pen. Mind you, it's getting dark, but I could see a little bit. I see a black lump by the back fence, and my heart just drops because she's not moving at all. And I opened the gate and I ran to her, and I could see her. She had her head up under the gate. Now there's hog panels that separate the horses and the goats with shock wire on top, so the horses can't put their heads over and bend the gate panel over. Now, before all these babies were born, actually, last year we had our baby goat, the one baby goat, the little boy. He was able to squeeze through the hog panel and get into the horse area. Well, I mean, he looked like he could. So this year I said, with all these babies, I don't want to take a chance. I made my husband put from one end to the other chicken wire so that the baby goats couldn't, accidentally, while we're gone, get in with the horses and not be able to get back in. Well, that was good for about the first 3 weeks, but that was mistake number one, because, and my husband didn't want to put it up. Um, he he just figured, the horses aren't going to mess with them. They'll be able to poke their heads through and eat grass and whatever, and they'll be fine. But I was just overly paranoid. I said, put the chicken wire up. He put the chicken wire up. But this baby goat, Violet, there was a little crack underneath there was like a little hollow underneath the fence where we hadn't seen, and we didn't think the goats would ever we didn't see it, but when I did see it, I didn't think the goats would try to put their head under there to eat grass on the other side, because there was really no grass on the other side. But if a goat's going to get into something, they'll find every little place they could get in trouble at. Well, what it had appeared was that she must have put her head underneath the fence, and as the horse, and I'm assuming the horse did this. I didn't see any of this accident, because by the time I seen her, she was just her head under the fence and not moving at all. What it appeared was she must have put it underneath where that hollow was to try to get some grass on the other side. The horse came up, and she would have had to turn her head sideways to get it out. Well, she was probably trying to pull it straight out because she had got scared, and he must have just stomped at her head. He probably didn't even use full force, because she was so close up to the fence. I'm sure he could only get so much, and I don't know how many times he must have hit her. I'm assuming, 2 or 3 times. And she must have squeezed over to the other side to where there was no more hollow, but it was tight. When I seen her and I ran up to her, I grabbed that hog panel and I pulled it up with all my might. Now, it's not a chain link fence where it has a little bit of give when you pull it, especially if it doesn't have a wire down across the bottom. These are hog panels. There's no give at all, really. And I pulled that hog panel up, and she just went, I took a breath, like she, I think she was so close to death it wasn't even funny. I guess at that point she might not even been breathing, or barely even breathing, because it was straight down on top of the back of her neck, just right behind her skull. At this time, it's really dark. I couldn't see her face. She's all black anyway, so it's hard to see. And I'm pulling on that panel, but I couldn't get her out and hold that panel at the same time. So I was screaming bloody murder for I don't know how long, at least a few minutes. To me it seemed like 10 or 20, but it was probably, Ariel was saying, it was probably about 5 minutes just screaming bloody murder. And nobody heard me because everyone's got their air conditionings on. So nobody heard me. I know if my neighbors would have heard me, they would have came running. But nobody could hear. But, you know, I mean, this is where I know God was there. Because I was screaming, I was just screaming bloody murder. I was like, God, help me. And I'm not going to cry. And someone called Ariel because she had something for sale, and she, just by happenstance, got that phone call, and she had to run outside to ask me something, like directions how to get here or something. And she went outside to go get me, and she went walking all the way up to the pen, and she's like, she heard me. By that time she heard me screaming. She's like, what's wrong? I'm all, get Dad. And she's like, what's wrong? I'm all, just get Dad. Because I knew I could not let that panel down or it would crush back down on her neck. And I was like, I'm not letting this panel go. And she went, she got her dad. He came running. He's like, you know, like freaking out, like, what's wrong? And I said, she's stuck. She's got her head stuck. She can't breathe. And he came, he ripped that panel right up, and I scooted her, pulled her out. And she, as I pulled her out, she stood right up. And my heart was just like a big relief. I was like, oh my God, she's gonna be okay. She's standing. She's gonna be okay. And then she was just standing there. It was so dark. My husband went back in the house to get a flashlight. And I was just petting her, but I noticed as you know, she wasn't moving, she wasn't banging, she wasn't doing nothing, but just standing there. And I was just kind of stroking her back, you know, are you okay, you know, and I figured she's probably in shock, you know, being stuck down there. But I, you know, figured she's okay, she's totally fine. Until my husband brings the flashlight. He brings the flashlight and puts it on her face, and her face, all right here, is just raw and bloody. I guess from moving to the sides, trying to get out from the underneath the fence. She's got, you can see her skull right here, probably about the size of, maybe about a quarter of just nothing but skull, and just really bloody and just swollen like a cow's head. She looked like a little baby goat body with like a pit bull or a cow's head. I mean, it was huge, and her eyes were like just shut. And oh my God, I lost it. I totally lost it. And I ran in the house, tried to call the goat lady, but you know, she's busy. She don't know, you know, that I'm over here with drama again. So I wasn't able to get a hold of her for a while. And we put her in the little barn where the hay shed was. We just weren't sure what to do with her. And then I was like, okay, let's get the puppy pen. Let's put the puppy pen in the house, paper in the house. And then my husband, he just, you know, grabbed her. We put her in the house, in the kitchen. And when she got in the light in the kitchen, where the kitchen was, I couldn't look at her. It was so bad. And I did want to take pictures of her, but you know, to tell you the truth, I didn't think she was gonna make it. I thought she's gone. This goat's gone. And her head was just so big and so huge and just bloodied up. She's, you know, dripping blood from her eyes, dripping blood from her nose. You know, and she was just standing there out of it, just kind of like, you know, like kind of wobbling around a little bit. She was totally in shock. I'm surprised she never did fall over. But I couldn't understand every time I pet her, she kept backing away like she didn't want nothing to do with me. But I just figured it's just part of her being in shock. Well, I later realized she was so weak that with me just touching her and petting her, it was knocking her off balance. And you know, so I just stopped petting her, and it was really, really bad. I couldn't bear to look at her face. It was just it was a mess. She was a mess. And the eyes, you could tell that she had some skull damage. One eye was like, not the eye, but I guess the eye socket was higher than the other. She had the skull showing. I thought the way she looked, it appeared the bridge of her nose here had some cuts, and then she was all bloodied up here from being scraped up. I thought for sure her jaws broke. how's this goat gonna survive and be able to drink and stuff? There's just no way. Even if I have the bottle feeder, it looks like everything's just shattered. That's what it looked like. So, and I prayed for her. I prayed and prayed, and I hate crying, but I just told God, I said, God, I thank you for giving me this baby goat, and for giving me the 5 or 6 weeks that I had her. But God, I don't want her to suffer. I said, if she can make it, then have her be here in the morning when we get up. And if she can't make it, then have her pass away. If if she's gonna pass away or whatever, have her just pass away in the night. But if she's here in the morning, I'll know that's an answer from you that she's gonna make it. And I couldn't sleep. I slept on the couch where I could see her. I'd just talk to her. I'd get in the pen with her and talk to her and sing to her. And I'm not a singer at all, by all means. I just didn't know. I was just trying to do all I could to comfort her. She was the friendliest goat out of all the babies, and I knew she knew my voice, and so I just get in there with her real close, and I let her know that I was there, but I didn't touch her really because she just seemed like it made her uncomfortable, or like she might fall. I just sat in there with her and just just stayed with her and slept on the couch and watched her. And when my husband woke up in the morning, I mean, she was screaming her head off. She was bang. She, I'm sure, was just so hungry, and I know I was freaking out. She sounded her bath, even though it was loud, it sounded gurgled, like gurgling blood, gurgle noises. It was hard for her to bath. It sounded like muffled, and I guess I mean, you could imagine, and it was her voice box was swollen. Her throat right here was really, really swollen, along with her head. And once she started, bang, she got louder and louder, and still gurgly, but she could bath. And by that time, I got a hold of the goat lady, and I said, I was calling around different vets where to take her. Where was the closest, most convenient place, because it's mostly dogs, small animal vets out here, not a whole lot of horse vets. There's 2. There's one kind of near us, and there's one I didn't know where he was at. It was the goat lady's vet. She said, I know this vet. He's a good friend of mine. She's taking care of all of my goats. She said, just take her down to there. And I didn't know where he was at because he was kind of a weird way how to get to where he was at. I was like, I'm going to get lost. I don't know these roads out here, really. She said, and then I said, I'm worried she's not going to be able to drink or anything. She's screaming her head off like she's starving to death. She can't see. Her eyes are just big bulges, and they're closed. And like I said, there's like little bit drops of blood coming down. She said, bring her to my house, and I'm going to take a look at her, and I'll try to give her some milk, and then we'll go together, take her to the vet. I said, okay. And I drove to her house, and she took one look at her, and she said, I'm surprised she made it through the night. She said, let's just take her straight to the vet. So we got in her car, and I had her in a dog crate at this point, and with some blankets, had baby blankets in there, and we took her to the vet. The vet was amazing, awesome vet, and he real down to earth, friendly guy, very, very sweet, big heart. He's not one of those vets that's like real doctory. He's just real down to earth and cool. He specializes in cattle, and she was laying down, and then he opened the crate, and she jumped right up, and he said, you know what, that's a good sign. She's that alert that she can jump up. He said, that is a good sign. He said, I've seen animals come through so much stuff, goats and sheep and dogs that, get, tore up or beat up by other animals. He said, you'll be surprised what I've seen and what animals have pulled through. He opened the cage. He looked at her. He said, I didn't want to press on her. I don't want to put her any more trauma than what she already is. I said, doctor, I'm worried about her jaw. I'm worried that her jaw is broken and she's not going to be able to drink milk. And he checked her jaw. He said, from what he can see, he didn't want to mess too much with the top jaw because of all the swelling on the bridge of her nose. He checked the bottom jaw. He said the bottom jaw is not broken. So she should be able to drink milk. She did have all her bottom teeth. Now goats don't have the top teeth, they just have the bottom. She had all her teeth. He mixed some medicine together. He gave her a shot, and gave me some medicine to give her. He said, you're going to have to inject her with shots. I've never given goat shots before. He said the skin is super, super thick. You're going to have to really shove that needle in there, have someone hold her, and you're going to give it to her just like a dog shot where you give it in the skin, not in the muscle. So it's fairly easy to do other than the skin is so thick. And he sent me home with medicine. He said, there's not too much I can do without doing x-rays and, doing all this and putting a lot of money into this goat. But he said, from what I can see and how alert she is, he said it may be even that it's a lot worse than, because, with all the facial scratches and everything, it looks a lot worse than what it probably really is. He said, but she does have a skull fracture right here. He said, I told him, I said, I don't want her to suffer. If you don't think she's going to make it, or she's going to suffer for 3 days and die, I mean, I don't want that. I said, doctor, if you think we need to put her down, by all means, let's put her down. And you know what, I would just wanted him to put her down, because I was like, I didn't want him to be, see me so upset and be like, okay, this lady probably go nuts if we put her down, so let's just tell her to take it home. I didn't want him to do that. I wanted to make sure he knew I was okay with, if she ain't gonna make it, put her down. But he said she can make it. So I said, I'm gonna take your educated knowledge there, and I'm gonna go with what you're saying, and I'll take her home. You think she can make it? I want to do all that I can to help her. And he was just amazing, and his staff, super amazing. Just great people. So they sent me home, sent me on my way. We actually went back to the goat lady's house, and she said, let's try and give her some milk, and she was going to show me how to administer the shots to her and give her milk, and what bottles to use and all that type of deal. And we went to her house, and I was thinking, the doctor may think she might make it, but I just don't see how this goat is going to drink. Her head, I mean, if you just knew the size of this goat's head, I mean, it looked like a balloon. It would just blow you away. Well, with that shot that he gave me, well, not me, but, gave Violet, I probably needed a shot. Anyways, with that shot he gave Violet, he said, this is going to take the swelling down right away, take it down a lot, but you're going to need to give her an ice pack her head every hour and a half for 1.5 to 2 days. So that means no sleep for me. Yeah, Ariel was up with me too. Every hour and a half to 2 hours, we iced her head with an ice pack or with ice cold rags. And well, to back up a little bit, so we took her to the goat ladies, and the goat lady, I forgot what, I don't know where that other big bottle is, but anyways, this is a goat nipple. This is a cow nipple. Okay, this is what comes on your standard bottles when you go to the feed store. Okay, this is for a cow. This is for a goat. She gave me, well, she was using a bottle that was like this, but it had a big old, huge, white bottle on it, and this is the nipple for it. And she filled up that bottle, and she gave it to baby Violet, and I mean, I was just blown away. That goat was just chowing down, and I was bawling my head off, because I just didn't think, with how much pain she must be in, that she was going to be able to drink on this. And this isn't like the mama's nipple. This is kind of harder. But she just went to town. She just kept drinking and drinking and drinking, and I mean, just the goat lady was holding the bottle up, and she had her in between her legs, and I mean, she was just chowing down and eating for so long, and I was just a ball of mush mess, crying my eyes out. I was just blown away. She just got her little belly full and drank all the milk that she possibly could fit in her belly, and then the goat lady showed me how to give her shots and stuff, where the different places are I can give her shots, because she needed 4 days worth of shots. She also sent me home with medicine to put on her head where the skull was showing, and she sent me with like 4 gallons of milk to, because at that time I don't think I was even milking the mom, so I had no milk. She's in with 4 great big gallons of milk. I mean, she was such a blessing, and I really appreciate everything that she did for me, because she helped me to hold it together, because I was a mess. Anyways, so then after seeing that she was able to drink, then we took her home after that, and it seemed like within hours, half of that swelling was down. I mean, I was blown away. I was calling my husband. I was like, oh my gosh, after the baby goat got, I think it was a steroid shot and some antibiotics and some other stuff that was mixed in that shot. I have the paperwork here somewhere. It says on the vet papers. Anyways, I mean, the swelling went down like half. And then I, was giving her milk using this, but she seemed like, after about 24 hours, she seemed like she was getting even more sore. Even though the swelling was going down, she seemed like she was getting more sore in her jaw, to where she couldn't really drink the nipple. She was just kind of sipping the edge. So I went down to the feed store right down by my house, and I said I told them the situation, and I needed some more medicine. I said I got a baby goat with a head injury, and she might have some, she might have a top broken jaw. I don't know. She's really swollen. She's having a hard time with the goat nipple. Anyways, so the lady that was down there, she said, we have these, and they were in a pack, and they're these, and I think she called them just for baby goats or for newborns. Okay, and they came in I think they came in a pack of 2 for $2.50. The cool thing about these is these can hook right to a soda bottle. So we bought 2 soda bottles. Now she said, depending on the width here, it doesn't fit on the taller ones, the ones that have more of a taller top. You want the more lower profile, which most of the Coke bottles are now, soda bottles. So this is going to just screw right here, and then you're going to cut the nipple right here so that the milk can come out. This is the first one I did, and I cut it a little bit too big, so I'm glad I got I'm glad there was 2 of them, because this one was a little bit too big, like she was getting drowned. So I cut this one just a little bit, and this is really soft. She could drink this really easy, and then I could easy to monitor how much milk she was getting, because the other one that I had was a great big old huge, that for milking the cows, it was a little bit harder to monitor how much milk she was drinking. So I was using this. These are really handy to have on hand. And oh, and then also, if you don't have that, a syringe also will work. You could just put the milk in there, and then you can give them this. And actually, this was the first thing I was trying to give her milk with, and it was really hard to do, because when I would touch her mouth, she would just keep putting her head up like it hurts. But this, you can put it up to them, and then you can like put it upside down and don't squeeze it or nothing. You can see drips coming. So if you squeeze it a little bit, just put a little bit of pressure, and it'll come out a little bit more, and she was able to drink from this really easy. So after the second day, no, it was actually 24 hours later, that morning, she was drinking milk. She could drink milk, and I believe it was about 24 hours later, I was like, you know what, I wonder if she's not seeing her water bucket, so she can't get any water at all. So I was like, I'm going to put some fresh water in here, and I'm going to give her water and see if she'll take it, because I know she'll take milk. And I put water in here, and I gave it to her. When she noticed that was water, I mean, she sucked that. She went to town, and she drank a lot of water. So whenever you're having a baby goat that has an injury like that, it's also good to give them some water too, especially when they've suffered a trauma like that. They need to be hydrated. They're going to need, of course, mostly milk, but I would also give them some water too. I think that would be really good. Okay, I'm trying not to miss anything here. And then I believe I could have my days mixed up. I'll have to check on the pictures. But I believe it was the second day. I put her on. She was on newspaper, and then I had baby blankets in the puppy pen that I had. And this is your standard. You could buy them at a Petco or the other place. I forget what it's called. The standard puppy pens. I had her in one of those with newspaper all around, and then with blankets, baby blankets, so she could lay down in something soft. and I noticed she was starting to eat and nibble on the newspaper, and I'm like, okay, if she can eat newspaper, she can try some hay. But I was really scared because, you know, with the swelling and everything here. So I went and got a little bit of grass hay, and I just give her just a little bit, just to see if she would take it, and she did. She started eating it, and she seemed fine. So I grabbed some hay, put it in a bucket, and I put it in her pan, and I got some really cute pictures of her. She's just, you know, laying down, and some of the pictures laying down with her butt in the air, and she's eating the hay. I mean, she would just, you know, once she found that hay, she was just eating. She was really hungry. You know, even though she was getting milk and stuff, but I mean, it had been a little bit since she had hay, and she was regularly eating hay before the accident. So she was drinking water because I was giving it to her. At this time, the eyes were still swollen shut. She was eating hay on her own, which was really, really good. She was resting a lot. She'd go in deep, deep sleeps. So if you have a goat that's going through anything like this, head trauma or any kind of trauma, they're going to go, because their body's healing, they're going to go through, you know, times where they go to sleep, and they're not going to, you know, sleep like a normal baby goat. I mean, they're going to just be out, and she would be just laid out for like an hour, maybe even 2 hours. She would be out. And then through the nights, you know, I mean, seeing all this swelling and everything, and it was going, even though it was going down more and more, and I could kind of see where structurally where she's had some damage. As the swelling's going down, you can kind of see it was a little bit raised here, you know, maybe some jaw damage here, and then definitely on one of the eyes. And I would just sit in the pen with her. That by that time, after about 24 hours, I could pet her and I could touch her, and I was still at this point beside myself. I wasn't getting any sleep. I mean, I would sit there and I would be feeding her, and you're talking like 2, 3 in the morning. I'm so tired and I'm just shaking. So, you know, I was like, man, by the time she gets back to her mom, she's going to be used to a vibrating nipple, because I was just so I was so tired. My body was just so shot. But I mean, it didn't seem to bother her. I would sit in the cage, and I would just pet her, and I would just, you know, I would just talk to her, and I would sing to her, and I would get like just right up to her face, and she could smell my stinky coffee breath, and she knew it was me, and it just seemed to really comfort her. So I just laid in the pen there with her, and I would sing to her. I would sing, you know, little Bible songs and stuff, and whatever songs I could come up with, I would just sit there and just sing to her, and it just seemed to really comfort her. And then when I was using the ice packs, they told me to take her and slap that on her head, hold her down like a headlock, slap that ice on her, and she's going to kick and scream, but you have to get that swelling down. So, you know, she'll kick and scream for the first couple minutes, and then she'll relax. But I was like, man, I don't got the heart to do that. I just the way her head looks, I just can't do that. So, well, first I started with the ice cold wet rags, and I put that, and she didn't seem to mind that, and I would put it on her head. I kind of like hold it, you know, on top of her head, and then as she relaxed, I kind of would lay it across both eyes to get the swelling down so they could open up. And then I would alternate the wet rag, and then I would get my ice pack, which the goat lady gave me, so I didn't have any ice packs. Well, I have ice, like hard packs, but not like a soft one. She gave me a soft one, and then I didn't really have to push it on her head because it seemed like she just liked it. She would lean into it like it felt good. The vet said do not put heat on her head to take the swelling down. It might help with the pain, but it's not going to knock down the swelling. So no heat. You want cold, you want ice packs, you want ice cold rags. So I would alternate the ice cold rags and then the ice packs, and sometimes she would just lay her head right into that, and she would just lean into me and then just fall asleep. And I would sometimes I would hold it there longer than 15, 20. I'd be there for like 30 minutes, just, you know, just because she was just laid out and knocked out. I might have to, I think I'm going to have to do a part 2 to this. But then she ended up finding, I think this was day 2, the same day she found the hay and was eating hay, she found her water bucket. And she started really drinking that water a lot. Now, by then, the second day, she could find her water bucket, drink whenever she wanted to. Her eyes were starting to crack open a little bit. I'm just going to keep going. Let's see how long a video this will let me do. Her eyes were starting to crack open a little bit. My husband was the first one to notice it. He's seen her, you know, you couldn't see her eyes, but you could tell was just starting to open up, and they weren't bleeding anymore. By this time, they have a little bit of clear drops coming, which was good. That said, that's good. And she has clear drops coming down. She's looking up at us. She can see us, and I mean, it was so pitiful, but it was so cute too, because she, you know, she's just looking up at us, and she can see us, and her little eyes were closed. I mean, I could imagine all she could see was shadows, but she was just looking up at us, and she would follow us, and her eyes would follow us, and my husband's all, because we thought she's gonna be blind with how her eyes look and how swollen. This goat's gonna probably be blind for the rest of her life. And anyways, my husband's all, she's not gonna be blind. She can see. She might have foggy eyes, I don't know, but he's all, she can see because she's looking at us. So that was really inspiring to see her, to be able to see. Well, so I think it was about the third day that she was able to kind of see a little bit, see shadows, and she was doing really good, drinking water on her own, eating hay on her own. She was still kind of, you know, yucky and bloody, but we were like, okay, let's get her out with her mom. So it was later in the evening. It was, I think, the third or the fourth day. A lot of the swelling had gone down even more. That shot was really helping, like, big time. Super important that she was getting that shot every morning. And it was that evening. I think it was the third or fourth evening. It was the third evening. It was the cool of the evening. We said, let's put her out with the mom and see, you know, just let her know that her mom's there and be around her mom. And so we put her sisters out. We put her with her mom, and she was so happy to see her mom. And I was like, you know what, let's just let the sisters out. Let's let them out in the grass and let them just walk around and let her just be a goat again for a little bit. And I have pictures of that, of the reintroduction, and her mom was totally fine. You know, she was smelling her and stuff, and she's like, I know that's my baby, but she sure stinks, because she smelled like medicine and stuff. And probably from being in the house, mom smelled like soap. Anyways, but she was outside, she was with her mom, she was doing real good, she was walking all around, she was even going and eating my grapes. I mean, you'd hardly know that anything even happened to her with the way she was acting and getting around. And then it came for milk time, and the two babies that were okay went to go get milk, and then I seen her run to go get milk, and I just, like, you know, my heart just dropped. Like, she's gonna run and try to get milk with two other goats. There's only 2 nipples, and there's 3 goats, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's got this head. I was like freaking out. I was like, what's gonna happen? Oh my god, I almost died. But she fought her way in there, and she got a nipple, and she got milk, and she was fine. I mean, I imagine that it probably hurt, but she was okay. She got milk, and so we thought, let's leave her tonight with not with any of the other goats, just her mom and her 2 sisters, and let her stay the night back with her family. And then because of the heat, because it was like 100 degrees, let's put her back in, you know, inside the house, because we were worried about blood clots in the heat, that there would be blood clots, and you know, she could die instantly if she gets a blood clot in her brain because of the head injury. So she spent the night. She was fine in the morning. We picked her up. We put her inside the house, and this was the 4th day in the morning, and she went berserk. She was in the kitchen, and she was screaming her head off. She already had that taste of being back with her family after 3 days of not being able to see really, and they weren't there, to knowing that they're there. And we put her back in the house. She was running around screaming, banging, and for some reason she thought for sure if she could just get out my kitchen window that that was going to lead her back to her family. And I had just washed a bunch of dishes, and I had knives in there, and my husband had walked off. I was in the kitchen by myself, and I was like screaming, help me get this goat, because she's looking on the counter trying to jump into the sink to get out the kitchen window, and she's going to jump on all these knives. So we took her back out that morning, and we just put her out there and hoped for the best, and was so worried about the heat. But we knew there was no way we could keep this goat in the house after she knows she's already been back with her family. So what I did to keep her cool because of the heat, they had big trees to lay under, plenty of hay to eat, plenty of cold water. That was most important. I didn't want her to have to walk all around the yard to look for cold water. I set it right there under the tree so they had easy access to cold water or to water. And what I did was my husband had these big, huge, what are they? They're Gatorade bottles we filled with water, and they were frozen solid, and I would lay those out there so that if she wanted to stay cool, that she would lay by it to try to stay cool. And she was still going through really deep sleeps and stuff, you know. She'd be up and she'd definitely alert, but as all the other goats are laying down relaxing, she would be like out for like an hour with her head just straight out. And she wouldn't lay on her own up against the cold bottles. So I had to go and, you know, get them and sneak them and walk real quiet and set them by her just to try to keep her cool. And it seemed to help, but she was panting. She was hot. She could tell she was definitely hotter than the other baby goats. The other baby goats were not panting. They were sitting under the tree, chewing their cud and happy as can be. She was panting. I could tell the heat was affecting her. I was really worried about her because of the blood clots. So I just did the best I could with the ice bottles. And then the next day after that, first day she was out in the heat, I was still doing the ice bottles, but I was also getting her wet on her back, which she didn't really care for too much, but I just was trying to keep her cool. I didn't want to, you know, soak her all the way wet, but I just got her wet on her back to just kind of try to keep her cool throughout the day. She still had these, you know, she still had that piece of skull showing for um, probably a good 2 weeks. I used a medicine after the medicine I got from the goat lady lasted about 3 or 4 days, and it was like a clear gel. I forget what it's called, and it would dry. It would dry hard like plastic, so nothing could get in there. Really good medicine. After that was gone, when I went to the feed store to get these, she recommended Pink Lady. It was made by a vet out here, and was only offered to vets up until about a year ago. Now it's available to the public. I used that. It had a little cotton dauber on it, and I was able to just easily daub that medicine all over her wounds on the side of the cheeks. It's pink. So yeah, she was definitely my Pink Lady because her whole head was pink. And that medicine helped her a lot. I just saturated that whole area with medicine, and she would, you know, she would start losing the scabs. Scabs would start to come up, and I never pulled the scab or anything because with the sun and how hot it was, it kind of acted like a visor. You could see it like the scab kind of coming up a little bit, and then I just let them fall off on their own. Even though it looks super ugly, I just, you know, leave it alone. I just kept saturating the whole area with medicine, and then that happened several times with the scab coming off. She's almost completely healed here. She's got maybe a couple little spots with no hair, and that may fill in later on. I don't really know, but she's got a huge scar across her head, and she still has a scab about the size of a quarter, which I'm pretty sure she'll have the scab, not a scab, she'll have a scar for the rest of her life, and probably not grow hair there. But she's pretty much almost completely healed. She had that congested kind of a sound for a good 2 weeks. She doesn't have it anymore, but I do believe she has suffered some permanent voice box damage, because out of all the baby goats, she's just still sounds kind of muffled. She can still bath, but it just sounds like real low. But when she's really hungry, or she really wants you to hear her, she can get loud, and just as loud as everybody else. But for the most part, her normal baa now is muffled, and I just would imagine that that was just from voice box damage, because when she had her head under the fence, I mean, it was like straight out. Just so, I mean, this was straight against the ground, and that hog panel was right on the top of the base of her neck, right behind her skull, and she was just, I mean, just flat. And I don't know how long she must have been laying there like that. But yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to show some pictures. The pictures are not graphic really at all. I mean, to me anyways. And I think pretty much everything is graphic. I mean, they're kind of bad, but they're really not that bad. But I hope that this video can help somebody that's been through the same situation and feel like maybe they had nowhere to turn for some advice. I mean, at least this is, you know, a little something that might help. It's better than no advice at all, I guess. I just know how traumatizing it can be when something like this happens. So I'm going to add the pictures of the baby goat right after this one so you guys can see. If you're faint of heart, you might not want to watch it though. I mean, I don't want anyone to get upset, but I just really want this to be a video that can help somebody. I would have liked to have had something like this for when that happened with me, because I went straight to YouTube. I went straight to the internet to try to find something, and I couldn't find anything. I found all kinds of weird stuff, but nothing that could really help me. Okay, so this is a 40-minute video, and let's see how long this takes to download. And I hope you guys can hear me. I know the video's pretty messed up. I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but I'm just trying to do the best I can, and I really hope that this helps somebody. And if you have questions, if you've gone through something like this, you're free to ask me. I'm not an expert by all means, but I can just give you some advice from my own experience, what I've gone through, especially here lately with the one goat getting its leg hurt, and then now this one. Okay, I will be back.